What happens when a woman is dismissed by a luxury boutique, facing elitism and discrimination? Her journey from humiliation to empowerment will leave you inspired and ready to embrace your own dreams. A woman entered the upscale fashion establishment, her self-assurance swiftly undermined by the staff's frigid gazes and dismissive demeanor. The polished marble flooring mirrored the gentle, inviting illumination, fostering an ambience of extravagance and exclusivity. Elaborate showcases displayed designer ensembles and accessories. Their prices subtly concealed. The air was rich with the aroma of costly perfume, and the hushed drone of quiet conversations. Her pulse quickened as she absorbed the lavish surrounding. A stark divergence from the modest shops. She was accustomed to her perfectly tailored blazer and sleek pencil skirt, though professional suddenly felt insufficient amidst the array of haute couture. She drew her designer-inspired purse closer, its imitation status weighing heavily on her conscience. A sales associate, Claudia Hart, glided toward her. Claudia's immaculately styled blonde hair and flawless makeup projected an aura of superiority. Her piercing blue eyes scrutinized the woman from head to toe. Her lips curling into a barely hidden sneer. "May I assist you?" Claudia's voice oozed condescension, each syllable a thinly veiled affront. The woman swallowed hard, steeling herself. "Yes, I'm interested in exploring your collection. I'm looking for something distinctive." Claudia's eyebrow arched, skepticism etched across her features. "I'm afraid this establishment isn't quite suited for someone such as yourself. Perhaps you'd find more comfort elsewhere." The pronouncement struck the woman like a physical blow, her cheeks flushed with shame. The sting of dismissal intertwining with a surge of indignation, she opened her mouth to object, but the words caught in her throat. Around her, other patrons paused, their browsing, their gazes a mix of curiosity and judgment. A pair of impeccably dressed women whispered behind manicured hands, their eyes flitting between her and Claudia, her hands clenched into fists at her sides, nails digging into her palms. She took a deep breath, forcing her voice to remain steady. "I don't comprehend. What do you imply by someone such as myself?" Claudia's smile was frigid, her tone patronizing. "Our clientele maintains certain expectations. We cater to a highly specific demographic. I'm sure you grasp the implication." The unspoken yet unmistakable insinuation hung heavy in the atmosphere. The woman felt her resolve solidified, determination swelling to counter the shame threatening to overwhelm her. "I assure you I'm more than capable of appreciating exquisite fashion." She countered, her chin lifting slightly. "I'd like to view your latest arrivals, please." Claudia's eyes narrowed, her artificial smile never faltering. "I'm afraid that won't be feasible. Our exclusive pieces are reserved for our regular patrons. Perhaps you should explore one of the department stores downtown." Her jaw tightened, patience wearing thin. She took a step closer to Claudia, her voice low but firm. "I possess every right to be present here. Your conduct is utterly unacceptable." Claudia's composure fractured slightly, a flash of irritation crossing her features. "I've requested your departure politely. Do not compel me to summon security." The threat hung in the air, weighty and oppressive. The woman glanced around, observing the uncomfortable shifting of other customers and the vigilant eyes of additional staff. She realized with a sinking heart that pushing the issue further would only lead to greater humiliation. With a profound breath, she straightened her shoulders and met Claudia's gaze. "You've committed a grave error. This is not concluded." She spun on her heel, her footsteps resonating across the marble floor. As she headed for the exit, the soft chime of the door felt like a final affront. As she stepped onto the bustling street outside, the vibrant city seemed oblivious to the crushing defeat she had just endured. She leaned against the cool glass of the boutique's display, her reflection a stark reminder of her perceived inadequacy. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, but she blinked them back furiously. She would not grant them the satisfaction of witnessing her distress. Instead, she channeled the hurt and indignation into a burning resolve. One day she would prove them all mistaken. With a final glance at the boutique's elegant exterior, she straightened her blazer and merged into the flow of pedestrians, her mind racing with strategies and potential. Each step carried her further from the scene of her rejection and closer to a future where she would never again be dismissed. The journey home seemed protracted, each stride burdened by the lingering sting of disgrace. Her apartment building came into view, a humble structure standing in stark contrast to the luxurious boutique she had departed. She ascended the stairs to her third floor, dwelling, her footsteps heavy with weariness and disappointment. As she unlocked her door, the comforting aroma of home enveloped her, a blend of lavender, air freshener, and the faint scent of last night's meal. The modest living room with its pre-owned furnishings and carefully arranged decor suddenly felt like a haven. She kicked off her heels and collapsed onto the well-worn sofa, finally permitting the tears she had restrained to fall. The day's events replayed in her mind, each remembered slight like a fresh wound. A gentle rap at the door interrupted her thoughts. She hastily wiped her eyes and composed herself before answering Lisa Brown's concerned expression greeted her. "Hey girl, I saw you come in. Are you all right?" She attempted a smile, but it faltered. "Not really come in." Lisa followed her inside, her green eyes scrutinizing her face. "Spill it." What happened? As they settled on the couch, she recounted the humiliating incident at the boutique. Lisa listened intently, her expression shifting from shock to anger. "Those elitist snobs," Lisa exclaimed when she finished. "Who do they imagine themselves to be?" She shrugged, her voice small. "They're right, though. I don't belong in a place like that nonsense." Lisa retorted, her tone fierce. "You have just as much right to be there as anyone else. Don't let them make you doubt yourself." Before she could respond, another knock sounded at the door. This time, it was David Carter, his tall frame filling the doorway. "Hey, I heard voices. Is everything okay?" he inquired, his brow furrowed with worry. Lisa waved him, and she had Arunan with some boutique. "Come join the commiseration." David's expression darkened as she reluctantly retold the narrative. When she concluded, he shook his head, his jaw clenched. "That's blatant discrimination," he stated. "You could file a complaint, and what good would that achieve?" She sighed. "It's my word against theirs. Besides, it's not like I can afford to shop there anyway." Not asterisk. Yet Lisa interjected, "You can't afford to shop there yet, but you will." A spark of resolve ignited within her chest. "You're right. I'm not going to let them prevail. Somehow I'm going to prove them utterly wrong." David nodded approvingly. "That's the spirit, and will support you every step of the way." As if on cue, a gentle knock came from the still open door. Elaine Johnson, her mother, stood in the hallway, a bag of groceries in her arms. "I thought I detected a gathering," she said, her warm smile faltering as she took in the somber atmosphere. "What's transpiring?" She helped her mother with the groceries as Lisa and David briefed her on the situation. Elaine's face clouded with a blend of anger and concern. "Oh, darling," she said, pulling her into a fierce hug. "I'm so terribly sorry you had to experience that, but remember, their ignorance does not define your worth." She melted into her mother's embrace, drawing fortitude from the unconditional affection and encouragement as they separated. Elaine's eyes gleamed with determination. "Now let's strategize how to transform this setback into an advantage." The group convened around her small dining table, generating ideas and offering words of encouragement. As the evening progressed, she felt her spirits lift, buoyed by the unwavering support of her beloved ones. "You know," David mused, "this could be the impetus you need to finally pursue that business degree you've been discussing." She nodded, slowly contemplating. "You're right, and I could begin seeking employment. Retail, gain some practical experience." Lisa's face brightened, her curls bouncing as she nodded enthusiastically. "Ooh, and I can assist you in building an online presence. We'll demonstrate to those snobs what genuine style truly entails." As the concepts flowed, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The rejection still smarted, but it was gradually being eclipsed by a fierce resolve to triumph. The following morning she awoke with a surging sense of purpose. She dressed meticulously, selecting an ensemble that made her feel self-assured and potent. A simple black dress accented by a bold statement necklace. As she sipped her morning coffee, she opened her laptop and initiated her search for local retail employment. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, submitting applications and composing cover letters. Each submission felt like a small act of defiance against those who had doubted her. A text from Lisa illuminated her phone. "Meeting David for coffee at Brew and Company. Join us." She hesitated, glancing at the clock. She had sufficient time before her afternoon lecture at the community college. "Be there in 15. She replied. The walk to the coffee shop was brisk, the early autumn air carrying a hint of crispness. Her mind raced with plans and opportunities, each step feeling like progression toward her objectives. Brew and Company was bustling upon her arrival, the scent of freshly ground coffee beans permeating the space she located. Lisa and David at a corner table, their heads bowed, in discussion. "Hey guys," she greeted, sliding into an unoccupied chair. David looked up, his warm brown eyes crinkling with a smile. "There she is. How are you holding up?" She shrugged, her jaw set with resolve. "Better. I've been submitting retail job applications all morning." Lisa beamed, her curls bouncing as she nodded enthusiastically. "That's my girl, taking action." As they conversed, she couldn't help but overhear a discussion at the adjacent table. A group of impeccably dressed women were debating the latest fashion trends, their voices conveying an air of superiority. "Did you see the new collection at Opulent Luxe?" one woman inquired, her voice dripping with excitement. "Simply divine." Another woman nodded, her diamond earrings catching the light. "Oh yes, Claudia always curates the most exquisite pieces. It's why I won't shop anywhere else." Her attention sharpened at the mention of the boutique and its haughty sales associate. She leaned closer to her friends, lowering her voice. That's them, the kind of individuals who believe they're superior to someone like me. David frowned, his posture stiffening, as if prepared to confront the women Lisa placed. A calming hand on his arm, shaking her head. Slightly, don't grant them the satisfaction, she murmured. They're not worth it, she nodded, forcing herself to relax. She took a sip of her latte, the rich flavor grounding her. You're right, I need to concentrate on my own trajectory, not expend energy on their narrow-mindedness. As their conversation continued, she couldn't help but notice one of the women glancing their way. Veronica Steele, a renowned fashion critic, eyed them with a mix of curiosity and disdain. Veronica leaned toward her companions, her voice carrying just enough for her to hear. It's almost charming, isn't it? These little idealists who imagine they can penetrate our realm. As if mere determination could supersede taste and connections, the pronouncement struck her like a physical blow, reigniting the anger and hurt from the previous day. She gripped her coffee cup tightly, knuckles turning white. Lisa noticed her reaction and followed her gaze. Her green eyes narrowed as she absorbed the scene. Ignore them, they're merely threatened by anyone who might disrupt their cherished status quo. David nodded in agreement, his voice soft and reassuring. Remember, their opinion doesn't define you. You're going to prove them all wrong. She took a deep breath, forcing her shoulders to relax. She met Veronica's gaze directly, refusing to be intimidated. To her surprise, a flicker of something, perhaps respect, crossed the critic's face before she turned back to her companions. You're right, she stated, straightening in her seat. Their mockery merely demonstrates how much the industry needs to evolve, and I'm going to be an integral part of that transformation. As they concluded their coffee and prepared to depart, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The path ahead would not be effortless, but she was prepared for the challenge. With her friends by her side and her own resolve propelling her forward, she knew she could surmount any obstacle. Stepping out of the coffee shop, she squared her shoulders and lifted her chin. The city stretched before her, replete with possibilities. She might not belong in their world now, but she was going to forge a new one, a world where fervor and aptitude mattered more than lineage and affiliations. With a final glance at the group of fashionistas through the coffee shop window, she turned away. Their laughter faded behind her as she strode purposefully down the street, each step bringing her closer to her aspirations and further from the constraints others would impose upon her. The remainder of the day passed in a blur of academic sessions and employment applications. She immersed herself in her studies with renewed intensity, resolute in excelling in her business courses. Each lecture felt like a foundational step towards her ultimate aspiration of owning her own boutique. As the sun began to set, she found herself standing outside a local retail establishment, her heart thrumming with anticipation. She drew a deep breath, smoothed her skirt, and pushed open the door. The cheerful jingle of bells announced her arrival. The store manager, Mrs. Evans, a woman in her 50s with compassionate eyes and a direct demeanor, greeted her with a warm smile. You must be the new hire, right on time. Come on back to my office. She followed Mrs. Evans, her eyes taking in the modest but well-organized store. It was a stark contrast to the opulence of opulent luxe, yet there was a welcoming energy that immediately put her at ease. In the small office, Mrs. Evans gestured for her to take a seat. So tell me why you're interested in working here, she said, her gaze direct but not unkind. She leaned forward, her passion evident in her voice. I believe that fashion should be accessible to everyone, not just the elite. I want to absorb every facet of the retail business, from client relations to inventory control. My goal is to one day possess my own boutique, one that embraces and celebrates all types of individuals and styles. Mrs. Evans listened intently, nodding as she spoke. When she finished, the manager's face broke into a genuine smile. You possess considerable potential. We could certainly utilize someone like you here. When can you commence? A wave of relief and exhilaration washed over her immediately, she said, unable to suppress the grin on her face. As she left the store with a pledge to return the next day for her inaugural shift, she felt a sense of triumph. It was a minor step, but a crucial one. She was on her way later that evening. As she organized her new work schedule, a casual remark from her coworker Jenna sent a shiver down her spine. You know, Jenna said, her voice lowered conspiratorially, Richard Bellingham still wields significant influence in the industry. He's not fond of outsiders. Her heart sank as she grasped the magnitude of the forthcoming challenge. The former proprietor of opulent luxe wasn't just a local figure. He was an industry titan with the capacity to forge or shatter careers. But as she gazed at her new employee badge, her determination solidified. She might be facing an uphill struggle, but she was prepared for it. One day, she would revolutionize the fashion world, transforming it into a place where talent and passion eclipsed connections and elitism. With renewed purpose, she returned to her work schedule. Tomorrow marked the commencement of her new journey, and she intended to maximize every moment. Her life became a complex balancing act as she managed multiple jobs, pursued her business studies, and contended with constant reminders of her initial rejection. The alarm blared at 4:30 a.m., jolting her from a restless sleep. She blinked disoriented, before the weight of her responsibilities crashed down. No time for lingering. The coffee shop beckoned. She donned her uniform, barely glancing in the mirror. Dark circles rimmed her eyes, a testament to late nights spent poring over textbooks. The streets were quiet. As she hurried to catch the first bus, her breath visible in the pre-dawn chill at Brood Awakening, she plastered on a smile for the bleary-eyed regulars. She moved with practiced efficiency, brewing, pouring, processing orders. Her mind racing ahead to her subsequent shift, her impending assignment, the accumulating bills at home. Large latte, extra shot. A customer barked. She nodded, suppressing a yawn. The espresso machine hissed and steamed, its familiar rhythm a stark contrast to the tumult of her thoughts. Her phone vibrated persistently. A reminder popped up. Retail shift starts in 30 minutes. Her shoulders tensed. She'll have to sprint to arrive punctually. The coffee shop door barely closed behind her before she was powerwalking to Trendy Threads, her retail employment. Mrs. Evans, the store manager, raised an eyebrow as she burst in, slightly out of breath, cutting it close. Mrs. Evans remarked. She nodded, apologetic. Won't happen again. She plunged into work, arranging displays, assisting patrons, restocking shelves. Each interaction recalled that pivotal day. Opulent luxe, the sting of rejection lingered, fueling her determination, even as exhaustion tugged at her limbs. A customer held up a blouse, frowning. Do you have this in a smaller size? She checked the inventory system, her fingers flying over the keyboard. I'm sorry, we're out of stock in that size. But I can order it for you. The woman cut her off with a huff. Never mind, I'll try somewhere else. As the customer stormed out, her resolve wavered. Was this all there was? Irate patrons and endless retail drudgery. She shook off the doubt. This is merely a stepping stone. She reminded herself her true ambition awaited the day, dragged on a blur of folded garments and forced smiles. By closing time, her feet ached and her head throbbed, but there was no respite for the ambitious. She hurried home, microwaved a rather dismal-looking frozen dinner, and powered up her laptop. Her online business course loomed like a formidable peak. She rubbed her eyes, willing herself to concentrate on the dense text concerning supply chain management. The words swam before her, concepts blurring together. A notification popped up. Assignment overdue. Her heart sank. She had completely forgotten about the case study, due yesterday. Panic rising, she fired off an email to her instructor, Mr. Thompson. Dear Mr. Thompson, I sincerely apologize for the late submission. I've been balancing work and studies. But that's no excuse. I'll have the assignment to you first thing tomorrow morning. It won't happen again. She pressed send, knowing the damage was already done. Mr. Thompson's previous feedback echoed in her mind. Your work shows promise, but you need to adhere to deadlines. The business world will not await your catch-up. Determination battled exhaustion. As she compelled herself to work on the overdue assignment, the hours ticked by, her eyes growing heavy. She jolted awake, realizing she had dozed off mid-sentence. The clock mockingly displayed 3:15 a.m. With a groan, she saved her work and crawled into bed. Sleep came in fitful bursts, her dreams a jumbled mess of spreadsheets and disappointed expressions. The next few days passed in a similar haze. She pushed herself to the absolute limit, fueled by caffeine and sheer willpower. But the cracks began to appear at Trendy Threads. She mislabeled a shipment of designer jeans, causing pandemonium during a sale. Mrs. Evans pulled her aside, concern etched on her face. This isn't typical of you, is everything. All right, she forced a smile. I'm fine, just a little fatigued. It won't recur. But it did recur repeatedly. Small errors accumulated, each one eroding her confidence. One morning, as she rushed to her shift at the coffee shop, her antiquated car sputtered and died. She coasted to the side of the road, panic rising in her throat. This cannot be happening. She called her boss, explaining the predicament. His sigh crackled through the phone. This is the second time this month we require someone dependable. The tow truck arrived, hauling her car to a nearby garage. The mechanic's estimate felt like a punch to the gut. Where would she acquire the funds for repairs? As if the universe were conspiring against her, a sudden fever struck. The following week, she lay in bed, alternating between chills and sweats, watching helplessly as notifications for missed classes and shifts illuminated her phone. When she finally dragged herself to the doctor, the diagnosis was straightforward: exhaustion-induced illness. The prescribed rest felt like an unaffordable luxury. The medical bills that arrived a week later were salt in the wound. Back at work, tension simmered beneath the surface. Jessica Miller, a fellow sales associate at Trendy Threads, eyed her with barely concealed disdain. Must be pleasant to take a week off whenever you feel inclined, Jessica remarked during Their break, she bristled. I was ill. It's not as though I planned it. Jessica snorted. Right, I'm sure. It had nothing to do with your little business courses. Some of us are genuinely committed to this job. You know I am committed. She retorted, her voice rising. Just because I have other aspirations doesn't mean other aspirations. Jessica interrupted with a laugh. You mean that fantasy about owning a boutique? Wake up. You can barely manage this job. What makes you think you could operate your own enterprise? The words struck like a slap, her fists clenched at her sides. You know nothing about me or what I'm capable of. Jessica stepped closer, her voice dripping with condescension. I know you're in over your head. Perhaps it's time to face reality and cease chasing fairy tales. Something snapped inside her. Before she could think, she shoved Jessica hard. The other woman stumbled back, shock etched across her face. What the hell is wrong with you? Reality came crashing back, her anger deflated, replaced by horror at her own actions. I'm sorry, I didn't mean. But Jessica was already storming out, undoubtedly, to report the incident to Mrs. Evans. She slumped against the wall, the full weight of her situation crashing down on her. How had everything spiraled so wildly out of control? That evening, desperate for a quiet place to regroup, she found herself at the local library. She settled into a computer station, intent on catching up on her business coursework, but as she scrolled through industry reports, a name caught her eye. Richard Bellingham. Curiosity piqued, she delved deeper. What she uncovered left her reeling. Reports of market manipulation, underhanded tactics to crush competitors, all linked back to the former owner of Opulent Luxe. The pieces began to fall into place. The boutique's aura of exclusivity, the way they had dismissed Harriet, wasn't merely snobbery. It was part of a calculated strategy to maintain a stranglehold on the high-end fashion market. She leaned back in her chair, mind racing. The challenge before her suddenly seemed insurmountable. How could she hope to penetrate an industry so thoroughly controlled by someone like Bellingham? For a moment, doubt threatened to overwhelm her. Perhaps Jessica had been correct. Perhaps this was all just a foolish dream. But as she stared at the damning evidence on the screen, something hardened within her. Bellingham's tactics were despicable, yes, but they also revealed a fundamental weakness. He was afraid of competition, of fresh ideas that might disrupt the status quo. She straightened her shoulders, a newfound determination coursing through her veins. She might be exhausted, overworked, and facing seemingly impossible odds, but she possessed something Bellingham and his ilk would never comprehend. A vision for a truly inclusive fashion world. The path ahead was steeper than she had ever imagined, but as she gathered her belongings and stepped out into the cool evening air, she felt a spark of hope. She had weathered setbacks, pushed herself to the limit, and uncovered the ugly truth of the industry. She longed to transform. Now armed with knowledge and fueled by an unshakable belief in her dream, she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The fashion world had no idea what was coming. Her financial predicament grew dire as she neared her objective of acquiring the boutique. She faced eviction, and her well-being deteriorated due to relentless stress. She stared at the eviction, notice her vision blurring as exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her. The harsh fluorescent light of her tiny apartment kitchen cast long shadows across the pile of unpaid bills cluttering the table. Her fingers trembled as she set down the paper, the finality of Mr. Harris's ultimatum sinking in. 2 weeks. She had 2 weeks to vacate the only residence she had known since embarking on her own. The irony was not lost on her, so close to realizing her dream of owning the boutique, yet on the precipice of homelessness. Her phone buzzed incessantly, a chorus of creditors demanding payment. She silenced it with a frustrated swipe, knowing each ignored call merely postponed the inevitable. The perpetual strain had taken its toll, leaving her a mere shadow of her former self. She caught a glimpse of her reflection in the microwave door and barely recognized the woman staring back. Dark circles rimmed her eyes, stark against her now pale complexion. Her usually neat hair hung limp and lifeless, mirroring her depleted energy. A knock at the door startled her from her reverie. You in there? Lisa's concerned voice filtered through the thin wood. She considered feigning absence, but knew her friend's persistence with a heavy sigh. She dragged herself to the door. Lisa's eyes widened as she took in her disheveled appearance. Good heavens, girl, you look dreadful. She managed a weak smile. Thanks for the morale boost. Lisa pushed past her, surveying the apartment with growing alarm. This isn't solely about the boutique anymore, is it? She picked up the eviction, notice her face clouding. Why didn't you tell me it had gotten this severe? I believed I could manage it, she murmured, her voice barely audible. She swayed slightly, fatigue threatening to topple her. Lisa grasped her arm, steadying her. That's it, you're getting into bed right now. I can't, she protested weakly. There's so much to accomplish. The only thing you need to do is rest, Lisa stated firmly, guiding her towards the bedroom. You're useless to everyone. If you drive yourself into the ground, she wanted to argue, but exhaustion prevailed. She collapsed onto the bed, her body feeling like lead Lisa perched on the edge of the mattress, her voice softening. We'll work this out, okay? But you have to prioritize your well-being first. She nodded, her eyes already drifting closed. As sleep claimed her, she clung to the faint hope that tomorrow would bring a solution. The banks polished marble floors mirrored her nervous energy. As she approached Mr. Thompson's office, her heart pounded a staccato rhythm against her ribs each step, bringing her closer to the moment of truth. Mr. Thompson greeted her with a warm smile, gesturing for her to take a seat. I'm pleased to inform you that your loan application has been approved. The words took a moment to register. She blinked, hardly daring to believe it as he nodded, sliding a folder across the desk. You've exerted tremendous effort for this. Congratulations. As Mr. Thompson elucidated the terms, her mind raced. The impossible suddenly seemed within reach. She left the bank, clutching the documents, a mix of elation and apprehension coursing through her veins. The familiar facade of opulent luxe boutique loomed before her. She took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. Before pushing open the heavy glass door, Claudia Hart's eyes narrowed. As she approached the counter, can I assist you? She inquired, her tone clipped. I'm here to discuss the terms of the sale, she stated. Meeting Claudia's gaze steadily, a flicker of surprise crossed Claudia's face before her mask of cool indifference slipped back into place. You actually accomplished it, she muttered, leading her to a small office in the back. As they reviewed the paperwork, she couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. The boutique that had once rejected her would soon be hers to sculpt and reshape. It was an intoxicating sensation, tempered by the awareness of the challenges that lay ahead. Claudia's pen hovered over the final signature line. She looked up at her, a hint of grudging respect in her eyes. I trust you understand what you're embarking upon, she said. She met her gaze unflinchingly. I do. The boutique buzzed with nervous energy as she outlined her vision for the new displays. She gestured towards the main window, describing her plans. For a more inclusive range of mannequins and styles, we aim to exhibit diversity. She explained, her excitement building, to demonstrate that luxury fashion isn't confined to one body type or skin tone. A ripple of discontent moved through the gathered staff. Claudia Hart stepped forward, her lips curled in a sneer. This isn't going to succeed, she said, her voice dripping with disdain. You're out of your depth. Before she could respond, Claudia shoved past her, deliberately knocking her off balance. She stumbled, catching herself on a nearby rack. The room fell silent, tension thick in the air. Humiliation burned through her. As she straightened, acutely aware of every eye upon her, she opened her mouth to speak, but the words caught in her throat. Claudia smirked, triumph gleaming in her eyes. Perhaps now you'll comprehend. This isn't your domain, she said softly, for her ears only fighting back tears. She retreated to her office. She sank into her chair. The magnitude of the task before her suddenly overwhelming. For a moment doubt crept in. Was Claudia correct? Was she truly out of her depth? Her gaze fell on a framed photograph on her desk. Her mother's proud smile on the day she graduated college. The memory of her mother's unwavering support ignited a spark of determination within her. She may have lost this skirmish, but the war was far from over. She straightened in her chair, resolve hardening. She would prove them all mistaken, no matter the cost. The soft glow of her computer screen illuminated her furrowed brow. As she scrolled through yet another scathing online critique, the words blurred together, a cacophony of disparagement that threatened to drown out her self-assurance. A ping from her email pulled her attention away. She opened the message, her eyes widening as she read. I thought you should know the negative press about your boutique isn't a coincidence. Miranda Bellingham, Richard's cousin, has been orchestrating a smear campaign. She's using her influence as a fashion critic to undermine your efforts. Look into her recent publications and online forums. You'll see the pattern. Good luck. An ally. Her heart raced as she plunged into research, uncovering a trail of meticulously crafted critiques and forum posts. Miranda Bellingham's name appeared repeatedly, her words dripping with thinly veiled contempt for the boutique's new direction. This once esteemed establishment has lost its charm under new management. One review read, a misguided attempt at inclusivity has resulted in a hodgepodge of styles that fails to capture the essence of true luxury. Anger and frustration warred within her as the pieces fell into place. The constant uphill battle, the whispers and sidelong glances, it all made sense now. She hadn't just been contending with skepticism. She had been up against a coordinated assault. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, tempted to fire off a rebuttal, but she paused, forcing herself to think strategically. A direct confrontation might only fuel the fire. No, she needed a plan, a method to counter the sabotage. Without descending to their level, she reached for her phone, her mind already racing with possibilities. Lisa, David, I need your assistance, she said as soon as they answered. Can you come over? We have work to do. Her living room transformed into a strategic command center. Whiteboards, covered in flowcharts and brainstorming notes, lined the walls. Lisa and David sat on the couch, laptops open, furiously typing and clicking. She paced back and forth, her energy electric despite the late hour. We need to demonstrate to the world what this boutique genuinely represents, she stated, gesturing to a mood board filled with diverse models and bold designs. Not just tell them, but show them. Lisa looked up from her screen, excitement shining in her eyes. I possess some contacts in the fashion blogging sphere, she said, influencers who are passionate about body positivity and inclusive style. If we can enlist their support, it could be monumental. David nodded enthusiastically. And we should leverage social media. Feature customer testimonials, behind-the-scenes glimpses of our inclusive practices, really emphasize the message that luxury is for everyone. She felt a surge of hope. As the plan materialized, it wouldn't be easy, but with her friends by her side and truth as their weapon, she knew they stood a fighting chance. All right, she declared, a fierce smile spreading across her face. Let's accomplish this. It's time to reclaim our narrative and demonstrate to the world what opulent luxe truly embodies. As they plunged back their work, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The path ahead remained fraught with challenges, but for the first time in weeks, she felt genuinely optimistic. This boutique wasn't merely a business. Had become a symbol of resilience, of resisting those who would exclude and diminish, and she was ready for the struggle. Her heart sank as she approached the opulent luxe boutique. A small but vociferous group of protesters thronged the entrance, their signs bobbing in the air like enraged birds. Restore the old luxe, one declared. Boycott the new management, proclaimed another. She recognized faces in the crowd. Claudia Hart's devoted clientele, their designer sunglasses perched on impeccably powdered noses. She pushed through the door. The familiar chime now sounded more like a funeral knell. The shop floor stretched before her, eerily quiet. A lone customer idly browsed a rack of dresses, the rustle of fabric seeming unnaturally loud in the silence. How are the figures today, Alicia? She asked her sales associate, dreading the response. Alicia's grimace conveyed everything. Not good. We've barely surpassed $100, she nodded. Swallowing hard against the lump in her throat, she retreated to her office, collapsing into her chair, the weight of imminent failure pressed down on her chest, making it difficult to breathe. She had come so far, fought so ardently. Was this how it all concluded? The door burst open. Lisa and David stormed in a whirlwind of determined energy. We observed the protesters, Lisa exclaimed, her green eyes flashing with indignation. This is preposterous. David's jaw was set, his usually calm demeanor replaced by simmering anger. We cannot allow them to win. There must be something we can do. She looked at her friends, their unwavering support a balm to her battered spirit. She straightened in her chair, a spark of determination igniting in her chest. You're right, she said, her voice growing stronger. We're not conceding defeat. Without a struggle, the community center buzzed with nervous energy as she stood before the assembled crowd. Familiar faces peppered the audience. Loyal customers, local business owners, community leaders, they all looked to her, waiting. She took a deep breath, channeling every ounce of passion and resolve. She possessed opulent luxe isn't merely a boutique, she began, her voice carrying across the room. It's a declaration, a statement that luxury and style belong to everyone, irrespective of size, background, or origin. We need to broadcast to the world what we represent. Ideas began to flow, the room alive with possibility. Someone's hand shot up. What about fashion presentation? She suggested, her marketing mind in overdrive, but not just any presentation. One that celebrates diversity, models of all shapes, sizes, and backgrounds. David nodded enthusiastically. And we could collaborate with local designers for a pop-up event showcasing emerging talent. Alongside established brands, the energy in the room is electric. A local influencer offers to promote the events on her social media channels. A community leader suggests hosting workshops on sustainable fashion. Her pen flew across her notepad, struggling to keep pace with the deluge of ideas. As the war on a plan materialized, social media posts were drafted, event timelines formulated, influencers contacted. She felt the burden on her shoulders lifting, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose. This was more than just salvaging her business. It was about altering the very essence of the fashion industry. Her kitchen table groaned under the weight of documents, laptops, and half-empty coffee mugs. Across from her sat Emily Reyes, investigative journalist, her sharp eyes scanning through emails and financial records. This is it, Emily said, tapping a finger against her screen, the smoking gun. She leaned in, her heart racing. As she read the email thread, Miranda Bellingham's name jumped out at her, followed by instructions to prominent fashion critics. The words blurred before her eyes, but their meaning was crystal clear. A coordinated effort to dismantle opulent Lux's reputation. I can't believe it, she whispered, anger and vindication warring within her all this time. Emily's fingers fly across her keyboard. With this evidence, we can expose the entire operation. Are you prepared for this? Once this article goes live, there's no turning back. She met Emily's gaze, her jaw set with determination. Do it. It's time. The truth came out hours later. She refreshed her browser for the 100th time. Emily's article flashed across the screen. Sabotage in the fashion world. The truth behind opulent Lux within minutes. It was ubiquitous, shared, commented on, dissected across social media platforms. Her phone erupted with notifications. Messages of support flooded in from customers, fellow business owners, even strangers touched by her story. She scrolled through them, tears pricking at her eyes. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to hope. The fashion conference hall hummed with anticipation. She shifted in her seat, acutely aware of the eyes that darted her way on stage. Industry leaders debated the future of fashion, their words charged with a new urgency. We must embrace inclusivity, declared a renowned designer, her gaze sweeping the audience. The days of catering to a narrow ideal are over. We need only look to visionaries like her to discern the path forward. Her cheeks burned at the unexpected praise. She glanced around, noticing Miranda Bellingham's conspicuous absence. The woman's influence, once so formidable, had crumbled in the wake of the exposé. As the conference concluded, she found herself surrounded by industry figures, eager to converse with her. Business cards were pressed into her hand and invitations to collaborate extended. It was dizzying, overwhelming, and exhilarating. Back at opulent Lux, the transformation was palpable. The shop floor bustled with activity, a diverse array of customers browsing the racks. She watched as a plus-size woman twirled in front of a mirror, her face radiant as she admired her reflection in a stunning evening gown. Alicia approached, a wide smile on her face. We just had our best sales day ever. And you should see our social media, we're trending. She nodded, a lump forming in her throat. It was more than she had ever dared to hope, for the rooftop terrace of opulent Lux sparkled under a canopy of delicate fairy lights. She leaned against the railing, gazing out at the sprawling city skyline. The cool night air carried the fragrance of jasmine from the potted plants dispersed around the area. Footsteps approached, and Lisa and David appeared at her side, champagne flutes in hand, to a fashion revolutionary and all-around powerhouse. Lisa declared, raising her glass. They clinked glasses, the crystal resonating in the night air. She took a sip, the bubbles dancing on her tongue. Below, she could hear the muffled sounds of the boutique. Customers conversing, music playing, life thrumming through the space she had meticulously created. I still can't quite fathom it, she admitted, shaking her head. There were so many instances when I believed it was finished. David squeezed her shoulder. But you never surrendered. That's what makes you exceptional. She recalled that initial day in the boutique, the sting of rejection, the fire it had ignited within her, the extended nights, the impediments, the moments of uncertainty, all culminating in this. We accomplished it, she stated softly, including her friends in the triumph. We truly did. As the city lights twinkled before her, a profound sense of peace settled over her. She had proven them all wrong, yes, but more significantly, she had forged something meaningful. A space where everyone can feel beautiful, valued, and seen. The future stretched out before her, luminous with potential. There would be fresh challenges, new skirmishes to contend with, but she was prepared. She had already redefined the parameters of the fashion world. Once, who knew what she would achieve next? With a contented sigh, she turned back to her friends, ready to rejoin the festivities below. The night is young, and there's still so much to celebrate. She stepped forward, leaving the shadows of doubt behind her, embracing the radiance of her hard-won success. What part of her journey resonated with you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories.